Namaskar. This is a big news. This is a big bolt from the blue, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is going to affect more than any other country, India. And for those of us who are on H1B, this is a huge problem. But as I go through this, there are many layers here. And I want to first tell you the most urgent thing. If you happen to be on H1B visa and you are outside the United States today, you may want to enter into United States before 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is, you have about 24 hours. No matter where you are, get back into the United States. Because from what it reads, this is someone who's coming in, and it is not clear if an existing H1B visa person is also going to be impacted by this, but you don't want to take chances. So this is the first caveat that I would give to everyone. Give me 1 second. I accidentally turned on another channel and it's just going on. So that is the first caveat. If you are outside of United States, you have 24 hours to get back in. Unfortunate for you if you had just started your vacation because it's late summer and early fall. That's one problem. Next one is if you happen to be applying for H1B, or actually your employer will apply for the H1B, the time given is so short that most likely even those of you who are planning to come in after the 21st of September, you will need to contact your employer. The employer has to come up with the $100,000 for bringing you into the United States. I'll talk about the impact on the economy and personal lives in just a moment. I want to just get what this particular law is, proclamation is out of the way. The proclamation is issued under a particular category which looks difficult to challenge in the court. I want you to understand this. This might not get overturned because the same clause was used by Trump in the first administration to deny entry to citizens of 6 or 7 Islamic countries, saying that these are all, hubs of terrorism. So this is a huge problem in its own. So if there's any hope that some group might be able to get a stay, I think that is going to be difficult, although people will try. So this is unfortunately bad. And the other thing is, this is directly aimed at those companies who are not big enough to absorb the $100,000 hit per H1B visa, which means the Magnificent Seven stocks, they may be able to still take it because it depends upon how much of demand there is, and for others it's going to be a bit of a problem. So I expect H1Bs to fall off sharply, like off the cliff for the next 12 months or so. Why 12 months? I'll come to that in just a second. I have a small slide deck, just 2 slides. Okay, I have put a link on the whitehouse.gov proclamation itself, and that link is in the description section, and it's under references. Please, just only one reference link. I want to kind of make it very, very simple for all of you, because I want you to understand the import of this so that you know what is it that you are looking at. So I'm just going to give you one of the more salient points about it, and that's what I wanted to go and show you. H1B visas, 100K from September 21st, 2025. Who's affected? These are people who are accompanied or supplemented by a payment of 100,000. So if, let's say, you arrive on the shores after the 21st of September 2025, most likely if you're on H1B, your employer would have contacted you to say two things. One is, yes, we have readied the money, and you'll have to have some way to show that the money has been transmitted. The data about where to send that to is all being, I think, available. The HR departments will be able to do that. Therefore, you would be able to get in. If you're already on H1B in the United States, there is no problem. You can continue staying here. There is no issues. The way I see it, even H4s are not going to have any issues. If you are on F4 or F1, any of the other visas other than H1B, and you want to convert that into H1B, that also does not attract this fine. That's why I said the category under which they brought it, it looks like it is hitting those companies which they think could be gaming the system, because those companies are the ones who are surviving on salary arbitrage, meaning like difference in salary, and there have been some abuses. I will be the last person to in fact I'll be the first person to admit it. So this is something that has been there. People have milked it, and that part is going to be the first one, and that's going to just like that category wiped out. It's not going to help. But what gives me some hope is the last line here. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm reading it. This restriction shall expire absent extension 12 months after the effective date of this proclamation, which shall be 12:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on September 21st, 2025. What it's saying is this is only for 1 year. That's how I say it. Again, these are all things that legal departments will have to get clarity on. And again, so long story short, those entering into the United States on H1B, even if the H1B is been around for a few years and you're just coming in, there is no clarity on that. It's not saying H1B for the first time, for example. So that's why I'm saying 24 hours, get back in as quickly as you can. I mean, so your deadline is 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 21st September 2025. Now the time in East Coast is 10:35. So you have about 23 and a half hours. Sorry to sound so dramatic. I'm just telling you the reality. There may be a small set of you who might be at home in India. Those people, you will need to come back. The other problem that I see for the next 12 months, if you're on an H1B and you need to travel abroad, it might be difficult for you, because this part that I told you about, that if you have an H1B already, will you still be asked to submit? See, there are two ways to looking at it. I'm just taking the worst case, and I'm saying that the worst case is that when on your re-entry, they may insist that you will have to pay that. But there are some exceptions also. That also is given in the same proclamation, and it's possible that your employer may be able to get you under that exception, so that the employer doesn't have to pay 100,000 and you still get to come in on H1B. There is a certain amount of finality about this, and I'm curious why the Trump administration is on such a war path against India, and I'll give you some scenarios. And if you have any questions, I'll do the best to answer them. I'm just taking a look at the question feed here, because there is something more that I need to cover. See, lots of comments. I know many of you are concerned. I'm sorry. I share with your hurt and concern, and it's one of those things. Like I said, it's pretty bulletproof from what people are saying. These are not me, and I'm not a lawyer. I can't say this, but under the clause under which it has been promulgated, this has been done in the past. Now, what is the big picture here? Yesterday, we saw that India's exemption for doing business through Chabahar has been withdrawn. Today, H1Bs, of which we have already covered it, close to 75% of all H1B visas issued are coming from India. It's going to be a problem. China is the next hit, 15%. They too have a problem. But it's 3 out of 4 people coming on H1B new. They're all from India, so that is the big one. What exactly is the game that Trump is playing? You know, last week there was a rate cut, and the rate cut was just a mere 0.25%. So it was at 4.25, I think, or it was at 4, something like that. Viewers, don't kill me, because I have not been tracking it very closely. It went down by 25.25%. Now, normally when there's a hint of a recession and the interest rates are cut, that usually means that recession is imminent or it's already here. But the Fed did not cut it by 0.5%, which was what everybody expecting. They did it only 0.25. The stock market hasn't really, reacted to it much. But this news on Monday, this is going to hit, because many companies who are using this to kind of run their payrolls. I told you, remember, that the Magnificent Seven, close to 50% are consultants. And the consultants could be American citizens, could be on H1B. And the reason why they are doing all that is that they can hide that number and show the per employee revenue as being high. Now that is going to take a hit. If that takes a hit, their stock prices are going to take a hit. If that takes a hit, everybody around America is going to feel poor. So many who are rejoicing that H1B, this stiff bar has been put, they will be also realizing the reality in a very, very quick time, because everybody has something or the other invested, like for example their 401k plan or their straight stock trading, and all those things. The expected correction is up to 50%, 50. And if something like that happens, then everybody is going to suddenly find, oh my God, I have to pay all these bills and I don't have any other means of income. Let me just sell my stock portfolio. And if that happens, that will become like a cascading effect. Even the Magnificent Seven stock will not be able to stand up to that. So this is, in my opinion, Trump administration has shot itself in the foot, because I told you I've been strongly advocating that H1B actually keeps prices lower, makes it cheaper for all America to enjoy their lifestyle. And boy, you have a rude awakening. It might not show up in one day, it might not show up in a month, but it is definitely going to show up. As to whether H1Bs not taking the positions will lead to jobs in the United States, I'm not 100% sure. You know why? This is where my connecting the dots is coming in. I'm thinking that the company CEOs that met with Trump about 10 days or 12 days ago, you saw everybody who's who, they were there in that meeting. I think they were asked a question: if we have a limit of entry fee, would that affect your business? And I think they have said no. The reason could be that generally the entry level jobs, which are the ones that are the most, and those are the ones that perhaps are also being given to H1Bs, these are probably going to be supplanted by using artificial intelligence. Although I must tell you one thing, software is not easy to write. I've been in software for many years. Only now I'm doing media, but before that, even now I do a lot of software. As a matter of fact, till 2-3 years ago, I used to run JavaScript routinely on my screen to show animation. I don't do that anymore because there are easier ways, and I just didn't see that as a effective return on investment for my time. But my point I'm trying to say is, software, if somebody writes software and it becomes quite big, somebody else cannot come in and change that, and they'll have to start over again. Now imagine that ChatGPT is writing the software and creating the whole software stack. You think anybody else? And there is a problem. And AI, I can tell you, it's not 100% bulletproof. It's got a lot of problems, and the problems just don't go away because it's some keyword that it is looking for, and that keyword may not be available to you, and therefore it's always going to come up short. If some things like this happen in software and there is a bug, just play this thing out. 3 months down the road, there is a ChatGPT software based code that goes into some program for one of these big companies, and that gets released, and it is blowing up everywhere. You know how hard that's going to be to fix? Because no human being wrote that code. What happens then? My take on this is, after 2 or 3 major mishaps, people will completely abandon AI and they'll go back to having human beings for doing the work. But for that, you need to be patient. You need to wait for this to fail. This is my conjecture. I could be horribly wrong, of course. Again, there are no certainties in life. Okay. So what happens now? If H1Bs are not available, that creamy layer of salaries go away. What happens to all the aspirational middle class in India? You are not going to be able to come to the United States. But hope floats, viewers. Japan wants 500,000 people, and many of them will be high-paying jobs. So does Israel. So does Taiwan. So you might be able to get a job. It might be slightly different than the H1B, which gave you a road to green card and so on. In this case, it might be more like a contract that you would do, like for example, if you're working in UAE now or Qatar now or Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So those kind of jobs will come. So those who are qualified will get well-paying, high-salaried jobs. And I also told you, if you are on the bench for a while, consider learning Sanskrit for 6 months. Sanskrit Bharati is an excellent place to learn Sanskrit because they have a knack of making you start talking in Sanskrit from day one. And once you learn that, then they spend 6 months, learn Russian. You have programming, which is a harder skill to get. So this will get you jobs. UAE is advertising for Russian software skills. So there are many opportunities open. Now, some of you may think, oh, that's okay. The same job can be done sitting in my home in India for the same employer, and maybe they'll, take a little bit more off of my salary, but I'll still be able to get, let's say if I'm making X dollars in the US, I might be able to do it for X or 2, which converted to rupees is quite big and still okay. But guess what? There is a new law that is doing the rounds in Congress and Senate. It's called HIRE, HIRE, and that act wants to levy 25% on any business that wants to outsource its software services. That's what they would do. If, for example, you think that, okay, I'm on H1-B with one of the Max 7 companies, I can't get back to the United States, I'm going to work from India, let me see what I can do. And your boss says, that's fine, I'll just make this thing this way, we'll adjust your payroll. You can continue working on the project you're working. And then the HIRE Act is going to force the employer to take stock whether I want to pay the extra 25% or not. So in US is clear. It wants those jobs. It wants the local people to get those jobs. Okay. I mean, the gauntlet has been thrown. This is 100%. Is this all being done at India? Because India is the biggest beneficiary of H1B. Because India is still not signing some important clause as far as US is concerned. People say that 4 states in the United States are having so much agricultural products that if a country like US, India doesn't take them, they're almost all going to declare bankruptcy. And these are southern states. These are and how this happened, why this happened, you can only guess. But is this what it is? Is this what it is? But are these GMO? If that is the case, well, India will not take the product. India is very clear. But can India determine if somebody says, okay, just buy so many quintals of wheat and this is premium quality, will India buy? I think rice is a more understood phenomenon. I'm not sure about wheat, although wheat could be the one that could be the thing that could be they could be pushing. India has accepted to take some GMO cotton, because cotton is one of those things that you're not going to eat, you're just going to wear. So probably India thought it was not a big deal. We can probably take that. Wherever there is a cotton shortage in India, India was taking that. Plus, the final product is also being exported back to US, so they thought maybe they can do it. So somewhere this is also coming into the loop. US wants India to accept something that India is not willing to accept. And now what happens is H1B is not something that India can put as part of the free trade agreement. It was never something that was expected to be permanent. Viewers, just please keep this thing in mind. I did an exhaustive program on H1B. It started in the 50s, but it did not take off until I think in the 80s or something like that. And really the last 10 years is when it was really, really high, and the numbers kept going up or down, up or down. The 100,000 H1Bs, let's say this year, those will be accommodated elsewhere. Like I said, there are other opportunities. But going forward, how does India plan for this? What happens if India wants to do something which needs high quality software programming resources? So those things will be, probably doable in India, and India will have to find, funding for trying to get some things like that done. But many of you may have got good savings in the United States. There may be some new options, new schemes. Like, for example, there's an incentive scheme that India has. If you do high-tech work, the corporate tax is only 15%, 1.5, same as Dubai. So instead of staying at Dubai, you can stay in India and do the same thing. And by the way, connectivity has improved, power has improved quite a bit in India. So you don't have to be stuck in traffic in Bengaluru to go to work. You could be doing it in your native village and do it from there. So these are all options, because what you learned, what you acquired, what you have experience on, all these things are based on what you did in the United States. This is for those people who have some experience in H1B, some experience in working in US, if they are forced to go back to India. I'm saying about those people. The one big problem is, if some of you have some personal emergencies to go to India, that you need to clarify. If you are inside US and you have an H1B and you need to go to India because somebody's not well, or some operation, or somebody's wedding, their sister, brother, whatever, those things you need to check with your lawyer if you will be slammed with this $100,000 requirement. So that's all I have. The net after 12 months, will this be lifted? I don't know, but I can tell you one thing: US is going to really find it difficult. These are not easy jobs to fulfill. Like I told you, the kind of jobs that H1B jobs are used, these are grunt jobs which take 45, 50, 55 hours, 60 hours a week. I don't think American population will be willing to do that. I'm just saying from experience, I've seen these things. Maintenance software, customization from one platform to another platform. Say something is working fine in one hardware platform and you want to change it to another hardware platform. Simple thing is, an app that runs on iPhone, they want to port it to Android. That is customization. And while there are toolkits available, those toolkits only take you some way. And if the original code was done not in a toolkit language, then you can't do that. Your features will have to be done from ground up. These are all difficult, hard, laborious jobs, which don't interest the normal American programmer, because they feel like they need to do the next cutting edge thing. Everybody wants to be the next Bill Gates. Everybody wants to be the next Elon Musk. So these are all challenges for American-based programmers, American citizens, green card holders, children, anybody residing in the US. Even the F1s who are coming here, maybe they will be willing to take this thing. And then what happens is, instead of the H1Bs coming from India, F1s will get converted into H1B, because from my reading, it doesn't look like those things require $100,000 fees. So there is a hope. This might actually open the door for some of the students who are trying to get jobs here, optional practical training mode. They may be able to get those jobs now, because the bigger competition, cheaper competition sitting in India will not be able to apply for those jobs. So there are many other things also like that which might be helpful for people already here. All this stuff tells us that relations between US and India are not very smooth, and these kinds of things, like for example, insurgency is going on here, there, everywhere. US is active in many places. US doesn't reveal what it has done because it's all under CIA. CIA keeps all these things hidden away in special projects, so nobody can question them. Did you send 50 people team to Timbuktu to take out this particular ruler or something like that? This has been happening for a long time. I'm not saying this has been alleged to have happened for a long time. There was Jeffrey Sachs who had said, I think, that known engineered coups of the CIA are like 61, and that 6 are strongly hinted to be CIA ops. So these things will continue to happen. How India will react? Can India seal its borders? Can India take care of making sure that its population is with it? I'm also talking about the Christians in India and the Muslims in India who have been brainwashed into thinking somehow that they are special, that they have horns on their heads, and that they have to be treated specially. I'm sorry, everybody is a human being. I don't want to wander away from this topic, but India needs to learn to kind of up its game, if you will, start punching above its weight. And then many products that India uses from abroad now, those will be doable in India itself. For example, there was talk about Reddit being able to replace for that software, that company, oil company, Navarro, I think, not Navarro, Naira. And Microsoft immediately backed down and said, no, we meant it was an error, we didn't mean it, or something of that nature. So this did happen. So is India ready? Does India have all the apps to do it? I think there are some, but not all. Also, India needs to do a lot of work. If these are all going to be cloud-based apps, they're going to be requiring a lot of cybersecurity measures. Those things are not available. You need to spend a lot of time understanding how these threats happen. India might find itself being hacked left, right, and center. And those are the things that India needs to warn against. So a lot of opportunities, a lot of well-paying jobs in India itself will happen, in my opinion. And my guess is also that US, once a free trade agreement gets signed, they might just relax this back and they'll again start allowing it. 3 months, maybe, this is optimistic. 3 months that all this will be there in effect. H1Bs will dry up from India, but after that they may just lift it, and then it might be back to normal. Again, I'm just guessing. I could go horribly wrong. Things could go really, really bad. And I'm just curious as to why the stock market in the US has not fallen once the rate cut happened. Because a rate cut in a so-called booming economy implies that the underneath the foundations are quite weak. And by taking just off by 0.25%, are they trying to have a smooth landing for the American economy, and thereby this will help? And this could also be a knee-jerk measure that US wants to show higher number of job creations, because these are all things that will be talked about in the upcoming elections next November. So it's not easy for the Trump administration either. And this could be a brownie point that they can say, look, we are creating, all these jobs are coming back, and they'll take one extraordinarily high number. I calculated that the total number of H1s over the 75-year period is 2,022,000 or something like that, 2,022,000 or something of that nature. So it's not a huge number, guys, to start with. And where these are going to be affected, how these are going to be filled is a question that we'll have to wait and see. I will give you updates as and when I see more information on this. It came many hours ago. I did not go live right away because I wanted to look at that proclamation. So I don't scare anybody. I don't tell you something that may be right or may be wrong. So now the proclamation is there. You need to read it yourself. Your employer, you may want to connect with your HR and tell them, look, I'm here. What is my status? I see that current H1Bs living in the US, they don't have any problems from what I'm seeing. Okay, but who knows? They might add these also, saying that everybody, because the way the Trump administration will look at is, look, all the new incoming H1Bs, I'm asking them to pay 100,000, but there are H1Bs continuing to have enjoy that low cost. There are companies having H1Bs who are enjoying the low cost benefits. Let's talk it to them. I'm just saying, is that something that the Trump administration may consider? It depends upon how the job numbers look like, in my opinion, because this is directly aimed at that, and perhaps also aimed at trying to force India to do something that India is unwilling to do. India certainly stood up thus far. We have to wait and see how this plays out. Stock market in India might take a hit, I think. Especially companies like the big companies like Infosys, Cognizant, Wipro, who else? Infosys, Larsen & Toubro has quite a bit of H1Bs also. HCL, all these people's stocks will take a beating. And if there's any way you can get out of it, I'm just saying, I'm guessing, okay? So don't kill me if it doesn't go down, because sometimes the stock markets can surprise you also. So these things could happen. So that's all I have to say. I've talked for 29 minutes. Oh my God, I hope I didn't bore you. Let me just take a look at the questions you all have. Yeah, Sivakumar has a good question. Should India include this in the talks? Well, I don't think India can do that. Let's see the next one. Iyer is wrong. When the H1-B comes up for renewal, the 100K will be there, maybe even for those already. Look, I'm not saying I'm right, wrong. This is the thing. The proclamation is not saying anything about those H1Bs who are already in the United States. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you, it doesn't seem to be included. However, they might add a clarification to say that this is also included. Already in H1B also need to pay it. Actually, that's a pretty big hit for Magnificent Seven companies also. So like I said, if those stocks nosedive, okay, if those stocks nosedive, the stock market today, you know, the bulk of the growth, that 46,000 levels where the Dow is because of these 7 stocks. And these are the stocks that are also employing the maximum number of H1Bs according to me. Okay, according to me. Okay, so we have to wait and see how this goes. In 2 weeks, it'll become very clear. So Ramdas says 13,333 per year for 6-year visa. I'm not sure of the math, guys. If it is right, it's right. Let me leave it to. Let's go to. Okay, here's somebody asking, are you in payroll on Indian government? As a US citizen, you should start with how entertaining level entry level jobs and US is positively getting impacted, but no crying for H1B. Look, I'm on nobody's payroll. I'm on nobody's side. I have criticized the Trump administration. I have criticized the Biden administration. I have criticized the Modi administration also. Don't shoot the messenger. All I'm trying to say is H1B was an effective way to lower the costs for some of the high-tech companies, and this was being exploited. And I showed you all that. There's a full monologue that I gave you, all the numbers, how these things are being, the games are being played to show the revenue per employee as being very high for the Max 7 companies. It's possible that traditional brick and mortar companies like P&G, Procter & Gamble, who are at half of that, they might have said, look, the only reason these guys are showing these big numbers is because they are hiding all the consultants. And therefore, this will take that away. They'll have to have full-time people. So that would bring down that number more on par with other brick and mortar companies, which are also doing well. Then their stocks will go up. Okay, so this is a dynamic situation. Please don't blame me. All I'm saying is I'm seeing and I'm saying what I'm seeing. Pawan Kishore wants to know, how does this affect job market? Will the job stay as proclaimed by the order, or will there be a rise in offshore? You have to wait and see. How many jobs will get offshore, that is back to India, so that the same job can be done by a person who was working on a desk job here in the US. That has to be you have to wait and see. You know why? Because after COVID, many companies have instructed all their programmers to come back to desk and work at least 3 days a week or 4 days a week. The reason was they felt that the productivity was not there. And when you work together, you have to be together as a team. Now, there are other options that are available. For example, I know of a company whose CEO wanted to meet with the team, and he was not sure that the team was in India. The CEO was of Indian origin, and he wanted like a 3-month status call meeting. And he wanted to meet with the team members to discuss like what to do and so on and so forth. And he was not sure they would be getting the visas. So you know what he did? He flew down to Dubai, flew all his critical employees from India to Dubai, and they spent a week there going over the entire thing, planning the next 3 months. So things of that nature, a hybrid thing could happen. It could be also possible that some of them would relocate to Dubai and start working from there. Same job, but working out of Dubai. But like I said, companies are realizing that in presence is very, very important. Now, there was a software that Cisco had sold called Telepresence, which had like high definition cameras, and they would be in the big corporate rooms, and they'd have this all angles for different people. It would make it look as if you are physically present in the United States. I think it's not the meeting time that they're concerned with. It's the the things that you discuss with a peer at a lunch meeting, or when you're having coffee together, or when you're going to water cooler to get a glass of water, because software is a very 90% perspiration, 10% inspiration type of thing. And the inspiration will come from people of your type of background who have worked in similar projects around the same company. They will be able to tell you, oh, this is how you need to do. Sometimes they'll be even able to tell you, you just understand what I did in this particular module, understand the code, and then draw a flow chart, and then you implement it and it will work. You see what I'm saying? So that quality conversation will be missing. That's what the companies want. So the HIRE Act also, if it passes, and I think Trump will try his best to get that passed also very quickly, then this is going to be a paradigm shift, how it's going to work. So it's directly aimed at hitting the 129 billion remittances in 2025 to India. We were talking about how this will impact these tariffs of 50% would not impact India because software and pharma are exempted. This is an indication there that they are going to go after software. That's directly that. So you don't have that loophole also. Next, some interesting thing about from success. INR will touch century. There is no limit, boss. This could be a circular thing. If companies from the United States have put in a lot of money, called FII and FPI, foreign portfolio investors, this will be the hedge funds and big companies like Vanguard, BlackRock, and so on, and FII, foreign institutional investors, if they start taking money out, and I believe that's what is the reason why today the rupee is at 88, and the rupee could, yes, it could slide to $100, and how India will shore it up is anyone's guess. Will they start, will the RBI start aggressively intervening? How far they can intervene? How much money is invested in India's stock market? And if it is 300 billion, I don't think RBI would intervene for that much. They may intervene for 50 billion, maximum, 50. Beyond that, they will not intervene. Remember, India needs to keep that money in case there's a big war. And signs are that Pakistan is getting ready for that. Okay, Prem Kumar thinks that H1-B renewal and new is all affected. It's systematic eradication of this visa category. I don't know. Again, like I said, my reading doesn't indicate that. Let's see what happens. KPL developers, PGurus, the situation is really bad for new master's graduate from non-Ivy colleges. The job market is tanking big time. Well, if H1Bs cannot be brought from India and F1Bs can be converted to H1Bs, that could give you jobs. Stay positive. H1B is not India problem. Well, India's expectation was that they would enjoy that. A lot of people were hoping that would give them a better lifestyle. H1B is global. It will have some adverse effect. Yes, I think US will be affected more than anybody else. Is I-140 going to be impacted? I don't think so. There are other categories also. I did one program on green card situation 2-3 days ago. Take a look at that. I went through it in great detail. I don't think those things will be affected. The problem I feel bad for, is those H1Bs who might not be able to make it back in time into the United States. What happens to them? They might have bought houses here, and who pays the PMI? Who pays their insurance? Who pays for the children's fees? If you are not going to be able to come back, you will not be getting the salaries. So this is a bit of a serious situation, and I don't think Indian government will step in and help them out, saying that, oh, no problem, just show us your last paycheck and we will match it. I don't think Indian government will do that. Even at the worst time in COVID, they did not do even a single paisa help to middle class. Middle class was forced to live on their savings. And only now with the GST correction, there is some relief, and also with income tax slabs going up, there is some relief. India could react and say, look, we are going to do away with income tax completely. We'll only tax your consumption. That might be a good way also. And that would also encourage people to start making more money, and you don't have to pay taxes on that. It makes life easier for everybody. I don't know. I don't think India is run by the babus, okay, the bureaucrats. They are not that quick to let go of the power. The whole income tax department will go up in smoke. They don't need to be around. Just think about it. Will American companies not take the biggest hit? 𝗣𝗙𝗍𝗍, it's a case-by-case situation. H1-B jobs are, like I said, these are grunt jobs for the most part. Jobs that require long hours and not a lot of inspiration to do that. And you have to be methodical, you have to be procedural, you have to make sure that T's are crossed and I's are dotted. And I don't think that will be the big one. Also, job scene has undergone a sea change, viewers. I have seen, like for example, take a look at X, right? They let go of close to 70% of their workforce in the United States. They let go of 90% of its workforce in India. X is still there. They are continuing to work fine. Maybe once in a while they'll have an outage because somebody hacked into their servers, but otherwise X is doing fine. Why this, you may ask? The point is that if the software is 90% complete, then you don't need that many hands to maintain it. Okay, so that is my counter. There'll be some new features getting added here and there. What features has X added? And it's impossible to monetize X. So nobody, like for example, I'm not interested in putting my content on X. I would rather put it on YouTube, where at least I get some revenues, advertising revenues. So X has a problem that way. They'll have to rethink what they want to do. Is X going to buy TikTok? Possible. Elon Musk could end up buying TikTok. That would be an interesting proposition, because then they would take on YouTube, and I would be very interested in publishing my content there too, hoping that they will have the same kind of revenue sharing that YouTube does. I'm not thrilled with the YouTube revenue sharing arrangement, but it is still better than nothing. Other platforms don't even give you even a fraction of that. All H1B coming for renewal, and new H1B will certainly have to pay 100K. What we don't know, what you have to pay now before renewal. Yeah, success. I can see that you are getting emotional, and you're also making some good points. This is the first version of the proclamation. It was issued on a Friday, remembering that courts are closed for the weekend, so there cannot be a stay, plus issued under a particular clause which withstood appeals in the court. So you get the idea. This was done to bulletproof it, because Trump has been hit by many things where they do something and then the courts come in and stop them from doing that, put a stop. Okay, here is somebody who really loves her. 𝗤𝗙𝗿. Tar Heel is a southern part of United States, Oklahoma, if I remember correctly. Why the hell you come to USA? Go to Russia and China, you Indian idiots. Look, who's the idiot here? If you hired an idiot, then who's the bigger idiot? You or the person you are hiring? 𝗤𝗙𝗿. Look, I'm a US citizen too. I've been a citizen for a long time. These kinds of thoughtless comments don't get you anywhere. Just think about what you just said. If you are hiring idiots, who are you? Look, I'm not sounding like an apologist. This is a problem, okay? There is a fight going on between United States and India, and the fight is going on something that you and I are not privy to. And Modi has, maybe in the past, administrations from India would bend, and that's how the Western powers would prevail. Maybe Modi is making a stand. Not everything can be seen by you and I, okay? So there is something going on. Why should, Commerce Secretary Lutnick say, why the heck can't India buy corn? India produces its own corn. Have you not looked at it? These are all things that are being done to address a certain audience. Maybe there is overproduction of corn in some states in United States, and they want to earn the brownie points and say, look, we tried, but India is not bending. Make India the villain, right? So sane minds need to think about it for the long term. Don't think short term, and see how things play out. I won't even try to read your name. See, this is something, some people I can read the names properly, others their handle name comes, it's very difficult to read it. Max 7 may need highly skilled people. high-skilled tech professionals, but AI has taken over jobs. We don't need that many people. H1B is not needed. Ha ha ha, completely abandoned. Are you serious? You're not in tune. I think you haven't heard the whole talk. Maybe you joined late. Please start from the beginning and listen to what I said. I played this thing out. So people on I-140 in India planning to enter US will have to pay 100K. It is not clear. They are, well, if they are on H1B and H1B is there for some years, will those people be affected? It's not clear. Okay, that is one of the things that I'm emphasizing again and again. The proclamation does not talk about that option, that combination. Some of you are snarky, Paul. If H1Bs aren't available, then the roads will be safe to drive on. And under what data are you saying that H1Bs are not good drivers? The person who did an illegal turn and caused the deaths of so many people, that guy himself is an illegal. It's the Biden administration that allowed 10, 11, 12 million illegals, or even 15 million illegals. The Department of Homeland Security secretary said that about 2 million have left. Illegals have been deported, of which about 1.5 million have self-deported. The others have been caught and deported. There is an action going on in Chicago today, and there are lots of protests going on there too. So, I mean, why single out H1Bs? Have some reason. I mean, if there is a valid reason, I can completely understand it. Again, this guy is, I'm just putting it here because I can ignore these things. I'm trying to see if somebody can reason with some people and say, living in fool's paradise, whose paradise? What difference does it make? Think about it. Oh, another bright guy. Japan, I think this using the same icon. I think these are all spam. I don't know who's happy at this. I'm just going to skip all this. Only those with ask hashtag I'm going to pick up now. There you go. Krishna Kishore, there are 2 million H1Bs who are invested in USA home family. So is there stop loss, security, Medicare have 80% funded by H1 contributors? What is the impact? Krishna, this is a huge problem. I've said this thing before also. There is no mechanism for them to take that money back. What they put into Social Security, what they put into 401k. I've said this thing in the past also. We have been talking to lawmakers. Listen, you need to give them a way out. If people have worked for 5 years in H1B, they put into Social Security, they put into 401k plans, that money needs to be given to them tax-free. And so that they can go back and take that money back with them. I am your guy. I'm fighting for what is right, guys. I'm fighting for dharma here. Nico Kash said, this is great for the American people. How? I explained to you what the reasoning behind all this stuff is. The stock market is completely twisted out of shape in the United States. Galt Senior, look, Americans, what goes around comes around. You may need Indian visas and hospitality too. Yes, medical tourism is much cheaper in India than anywhere else. I don't know how many thousands come to India just to get some long-term problems addressed, and then stay there for some time and come back. Stay in India, study in Indian universities, build company in India, and remain in India. What else you want? You have to have freedom. Look, there are so many opportunities and options available. You have to have freedom to pursue what you want. I would not blame somebody might pursue some education that requires them to go abroad to get the best specialist information available. Why should we stop them from getting that? They are paying for it from their own savings. So keep an open mind. This is going to sort itself out, because the person who is framing the rule is the one who's going to be affected the most. Karthik wants to know, sir, I'm not a software guy, but I've heard from friends that earlier writing software took time with less time in debugging. However, with AI writing software, it's the other way around. Yes, I explained this exact thing. Go back and start from the beginning, Karthik, you will see what I said. I mean, people will have to throw away the ChatGPT generated code and start over again. So that's going to be even more. This is like Mohammed bin Tughlaq, issue leather coins because it was cheaper to make leather coins. And then when you see that everybody is counterfeiting the leather coins, you have to give back gold coins to exchange for these leather coins, real and counterfeit. That's why you call him Mohammed bin Tughlaq. Ramdas wants to know, are all H1Bs eating non-GMO grains and organic milk? No. So why are Indians in India and Modi being so picky? When food aid was given in the past to India, it is GMO wheat. Yes, I agree. When you didn't have anything, you did take wheat, which was GMO. But India does have better yields. The problem I see, Ramdas, is that 48% of Indian population is involved in agriculture and they generate 15% of the GDP. Okay, you can say, well, why are they not being so efficient? In other countries, it's the other way around. 15% in agriculture, generating 48% of their GDP. I'm just saying agrarian nations. So how will that improve? India needs to do its own research on coming up with higher yield varieties. Would that mean GMO? I don't know. So far, India's varieties are tastier. It is it's something where the seed from one crop can be replanted in the next crop and continue. This is how nature thrives. Okay, I've told in one of my monologues that I'm now beginning to lean more towards a grape with seed rather than the grape without seed. You get the point. Rajiv, I think you didn't see this thing from the beginning. I did say that India was accepting GMO. Why do you want me to take sides? Make up your mind. You want to be Indian or American? By becoming US citizen, you are a traitor to Bharat. Why? Well, I would love to have Indian citizenship too. Why isn't Bharat giving me an Indian citizenship? I only have an OCI card. I mean, these kinds of things, there's a lot of ranting going on, viewers. I'm not going to dignify them by giving comments. I just wanted to show you the kind of riffraffs I have to deal with. Okay, I think I'm going to shut down now. It is not really working out. Lots of ranting. I've never seen so much ranting before, and I've never seen so much crowd for a live show that I have hosted. So I'm just going to shut it down. There are not that many asks. I might start telling viewers, if you want me to answer your question, you'll have to install the app and ask through the app, because at least I know who's asking the question. We will be able to figure out who's asking the question. I think that's all I'm going to do. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.